turnips. Welcome to another craft update. We are still not finished with this dang shawl. As you can see, it's very long. I've done a lot more on it since we last talked, although I still feel like I'm going extremely slowly. Thankfully though, my mum is also about the same part of the knitting as I am. Let me just angle you guys up a little bit. So we're both like officially 2 weeks behind, which is pretty wild. At least I think it's 2 weeks. Who knows? Time has gone so quickly. Anyway, so we're both very much behind, but we're on to the very last section. So as you can see here, I got my knitting needle and cable on, and we are going to be knitting downwards basically. So this will be like the part that is along your back, and then these parts wrap around you. So to talk about, how people are feeling about the project and other sort of comments about it so far, a few sort of I guess doubters, you might call them, have expressed that the shawl is actually looks very good finished. So that's kind of a nice end result, because people were really negative about the shawl design, which, to be honest, I think that that's okay, because people didn't know what they would be knitting. So I can understand if they don't like it. You don't like it, you don't like it, fine. But to hear that some of the people who didn't like it or weren't very optimistic about the project and end result, that they have since changed their mind and feel like he pulled it off. So what do I think? I think that this whole thing has been extremely fun and very enlightening into different styles and patterns and textures that you can have in knitting. So for me, this has been a massive learning curve and has actually inspires me. So even if I don't like the final outcome, and I'm not really sure, I'll have to finish it and then see how I can sort of style it. And then I might add some little bits later on, like filling in, because he did some sort of accent colours around these cable bits. So, I'll finish it off, sew in the ends and all of that sort of stuff, and then sort of decide whether or not I do like it, in terms of fashion. So not in terms of knitting, but in terms of fashion, I will decide. But in terms of knitting and the whole process, it has been really enjoyable and definitely worth the money, to be honest. And if anything, I do think that this is sort of an eye-opener for people in order to figure out how you might want to do the same thing next year, that it is important to find a group of people who knit at a similar pace to you. And I don't think people have really thought about that previously, because it hasn't really been an issue, the amount of work. But this project has been an extreme amount of work, so I think that just sort of emphasises that in the going forward, it would be a good idea to find a group who go at the same pace. For me and Mum, thankfully, we have been knitting at a similar pace. Sometimes I've been way ahead and then she's caught up. Sometimes she's been way ahead and I've caught up. So definitely, it works out. And it's a really great way for Mum and I to connect, which is a big plus. So, yeah, those are sort of my takeaways. How long do I have left until I finish it? I would think up to 3 days. I think that's the maximum time it'll take for me to finish this part off. Unfortunately, when I was in town, I lost my pencil case with my crochet needles in it, and I was going to pick it up today, but the cafe manager, he said that he's not actually there today, so I can't pick it up. But anyway, I'm looking forward to getting that back, and honestly, that was a bit of a stressful situation that sort of made me feel a little bit down, but now hopefully I'm going to be getting it back. Basically, this bad boy is almost done. Just extending this part out. And then bam, we got ourselves a clown coloured shawl. Woo! So I just wanted to touch briefly on people who don't like the end product or who gave up sort of after 1 week or so, and my thoughts on that. So basically there has been quite a few people, I would say a record number of people, who gave up on the project partway through, and I think that it's sad that they don't enjoy it. That's sad. However, I do want to explain a little bit that West Knits and the stuff that he does, he is very experimental, and you can see that like on his website and so the progression of his shawls, that he is very experimental and he's trying to do something different in the knitting world and all that sort of stuff. So I do think in a way that people do need to take that into consideration when signing up for a project like this, because there's kind of no guarantee that it's going to be something normal or stylistically something that you like, because his whole thing and goal, I would say, is to learn new techniques himself and to apply them in an interesting way. So definitely think that people should take that into consideration. I also think that in this age of social media, where you do have people who have YouTube channels and podcasts and are leaders of like internet knitting groups or whatever, I think that they sort of have to do this sort of project because it is popular and he is a popular knitter and designer. So I think that there are people who sort of have to do this in order to stay relevant, even though they might not actually like doing them at all, because if they say, okay, look, I don't feel like I'm going to enjoy the end product, right? But instead of just saying that and doing a different project, they have to think about like, well, if I don't do it, then people aren't going to be watching my videos because they're going to be doing it and they want to see what all these other YouTube channels that are doing it, or listening to these podcasts, or live streams or whatever. So I kind of think that can also drive sort of negativity or disappointment, or that these projects aren't for everybody. If you like something plain and just a single color, you're not going to like this. But you might really, really love knitting, but not like the style. And if you are a knitting influencer, then you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So if you do see people complaining about the design, or not enjoying the end product, or not enjoying the different textures and all that sort of stuff, try and keep that in mind, that some people are kind of forcing themselves to do this when they actually don't want to. Yes, that's going to be it for me finally, and I will see you all next time. Hey,